And again, we will be over his shoulder to see exactly what his preference is for drafting. We know in Constructed, he likes to beat down.
I'll be pretty interested here. Tom Ross is one of the more stylized players on the SCG circuit. In Constructed, you really see that he likes to turn creatures sideways. And a lot of times with these players, you'll see that carry over into draft. It'll be interesting to see what his preferences are here. I would imagine that Mardu is near the top of his list, but there's a lot of ways to draft this deck. You can draft it with a red base, a white base, and to a lesser extent, you could do a black-based aggro deck. And I'm curious to see where he puts priorities in the archetype.
You know, what I find very interesting about this draft format, too, is because it's so early, you know, what are the preferences for players at this point? What are their pick orders, for lack of a better term? How do they rank the cards themselves? I imagine, again, when they're doing sealed, they've got an idea of what's good, the texture of that format. You know, when you play in the pre-release, you're going to play some sealed there. You know, just kind of my deck is pretty good. I've got the lands to facilitate what I can do. But, you know, when you're opening packs and looking at them and trying to, you know, send signals and all that good stuff, what exactly do you do? That's going to be the hard part.
Yeah, and when you're this early in a format, sending signals can be pretty difficult because the community at large hasn't decided what constitutes a signal and what doesn't. So what Tom might think a signal is may not be a signal to the person he's passing to. And a lot of times what you need to do in a format where it's still relatively new is you need to do your own thing, draft your own preferences, and really, while you want to be aware of what the people next to you are doing, that has to be deprioritized.
So the players are going to count out their packs right now, make sure the cards are all correct, and then we'll be underway here for our first draft again. Make sure you do stay tuned, because after this draft, as we go through all of the picks, we will follow up and watch Ben Stark do his thing as well. I imagine we can learn a lot from him.
Yeah, one thing I want to watch with Tom, and especially Ben, is how flexible they are with their early picks. There's so much power in these packs that you can afford to burn 7 or plus picks on the wrong archetype if you want, because you can play whatever's open here, and that should be, you can afford to waste some time finding what you think the best archetype is.
Debilitating Injury, the removal spell there. -2/-2 for a colorless and a black. Great at killing morphs. You also see a Set Adrift in the pack. Tom has brought the Injury up to the front. It looks like he's going to go with that. It's a premium removal spell in this format.
Debilitating Injury is very safe. It's pretty good in aggressive strategies. One thing that he's passing over for it, the rare in his pack, was Icy Blast, and I actually like what he's doing here with it. Icy Blast is a very high reward card when you get it in the right archetype, but Debilitating Injury is very safe. Your opponents will probably always be playing morphs, and at 2 mana, it's always going to cost less than the morph you're killing with it.
Okay. So he starts off with the black removal spell. Again, for whatever reason, I just have Tom kind of pegged on the Mardu kind of guy, given he likes to beat down and Constructed. So we'll see if he looks to go that way here in this booster draft to start off day number 1. See, a Dutiful Return is the first card he's kind of looking at here.
Yeah, there are the chasey cards here. There's a Ponyback Brigade, as you saw. Hordling Outburst here in red. And those are probably the most powerful cards. They also go well with black, and I imagine we'll see him go in one of those directions.
One card I was certainly impressed with when I was just kind of doing some playing on Friday was Mardu Warshrieker as well. Lets you play a 3/3 and a morph as well. We'll see if he looks like he's eyeing the Outburst right now, though.
Hordling Outburst is very powerful. Both it and Ponyback Brigade are similar cards. And he actually looks like he went with the third choice here.
Yeah, didn't get a great look at it, though. He had the cards in the front we were kind of paying attention to, and then he just set that one down, so did not get a great look at that card. We'll see if we can get some more information on exactly what Tom did take there from our cameraman down there, but did not get a great look at that card.
Yeah, dropped it out of the middle of the pack.
Kind of juked us a little bit, honestly.
This one, we have another Ponyback Brigade. You see Einok Bondkin move to the front immediately. Tom really showing a preference against these heavy color investments. Both Ponyback Brigade and Mardu Rough Riders are very good cards in Mardu, but you see he's sticking to the monocolored cards and really sticking to the mana-efficient things.
Keep my eye on him this time. All right, looks like it's going to be the Bondkin, not pulling from the middle of the pack this time, thankfully. So it looks like he wants to be a little bit lower to the ground. And Bondkin was a pretty impressive card yesterday. It's good early, it's good late.
Yeah, and I do think it's a very conservative style and aggressive style of drafting, not putting preference on these gold cards. Instead, just wanting to make sure that he can cast his things on time and have a consistent archetype.
The good thing is we'll be able to figure out what that second pick is, maybe when he does his pack review. because I'm actually really interested now to see what's kind of hiding there in between these cards now. You see a Smite the Monsters here, a Sultai Scavenger as well. There's also a Rise of the Serpent.
Yeah, he's looking to try to draft just straight black-white right here. Remember, this is the Warriors archetype with both Chief of the Edge and Chief of the Scale.
See what he's going to select here. He's going to go with the Scavenger. It looks like he'll add that to the pack. So it does look like he's going that Warrior route, or at least the black-white route. Maybe a small splash of red. We'll see.
Yeah, you can't control how many uncommons you can get, but one thing that black-white does is it has a very consistent creature base. Now, by going in so early on this two-color strategy and passing these higher-powered gold cards, Tom is running the risk that if the person drafting to him is also running a black or base white strategy, Tom can find himself without picks in a lot of these packs.
See, there's a Windscarred Crag. There's also Air of the Wilds. Interesting there. Air of the Wilds, really, really good card I've been impressed with.
Right, so here's the danger of starting off in two colors. If the people next to you are in those colors, you may have to scramble a little bit. And you see Tom doing that. He takes Air of the Wilds. It's clearly the best card here. There was no good mono white or mono black card. So he had the choice to take the green card and try to move it on the signal, or take a dual land, red white, and maybe try to splash something later on. He went with Air of the Wilds right now, and I think he's just trying to find his position in the draft.
Okay.
He's given some preference to black cards right now, and he would like to stay black based on the picks he'd spent on it, but he could certainly let white go.
See what he finds here. There is an Unyielding Kumar. Now that is one that he pulled forward very quickly, the Mardu Horde Chief.
Yeah, it's probably the most powerful card in the pack, on top of being very good in the black-white strategy. Both the 2/3 and the 1/1 are warriors.
And he did not waste very much time at all taking that card. You've seen him over the course of this pack so far take some time with each pick. That one was a quick one for Tom.
I mean, when the best card in the pack, just on power level, is also in your colors, it makes her a pretty easy pick. Air of the Wilds is actually also a warrior. It's not the kind of card you'd really want to splash for, as it's good because of its efficiency, not because of its power. But because it has Death Touch, it even is possibly worth a splash.
Windscarred Crag is what he's brought forward here, so maybe he has some interest in the dual land. See the Rise of the Serpent. There's also a Rugged Highlands as well. Nothing too excited, so it looks like he's going to go with the removal spell. It is expensive, and sealed, that's perfectly fine. The games are going to go pretty long. We'll see if that works out, having a 6-9 removal spell in booster draft.
Yeah, Rite of the Serpent, your Sip of Hemlock style card here in the draft. It's pretty reasonable to have one of these in your pool. Having unconditional removal is great for an aggro deck. You're right, though, he does need to be careful how much of this 6-mana stuff he takes. Because his deck is looking like it wants to be 2 colors, he wants to avoid the late game, so he maybe wants 4 to 5 cards in his whole deck that cost 5 or more.
Let's see what he's going to bring forward here. Smoke Teller comes front very quickly. So it looks like Tom, he is definitely someone who is looking for the aggressive approach here. It's not even debatable at this point. He's taking 2 drops over different cards. It's just, he had the opportunity to take a Mardu Rough Rider or Ponyback Brigades, and he's just, I don't want anything to do with those things. I want to be quick. I want to be early. You see Smoke Teller. It's a human shaman, not a warrior.
Yeah, this is a hedge. So ideally, he wants to play black-white based on his picks. But there was that pack without any black-white cards, and now another one later on. So it's worth taking these late cards in case something doesn't work out how he wants. And this will be an interesting pick. So Salt Road Patrol is a very good white card, and one that he'd want in black-white. However, if he thinks that black-white may not be his deck, the Abzan banner gives him some hedge in case he has to go 3 colors.
Yeah, work his way into green potentially, and that's exactly what he did take, is the banner.
Yeah, one thing which I think was good about Tom's strategy is because he's going this 2-color deck, he can ignore a lot of the dual lands that other people at the table are spending their early picks on.
A little surprising to see the War Shrieker table. Yeah, that's a card I was impressed with when I did watch it. You see Rashasha's Secret, and it looks like that's what Tom is going to take this pick.
Yeah, no interest in branching into red. Mardu War Shrieker is a good card, but it's good just because it's efficient. It's great. It's a great of a red core deck, which Tom hasn't picked any red cards yet, and based on these packs, I don't see any reason to believe that red is particularly open. That just looks like a late War Shrieker. Maybe the Mardu player was in the situation where I think that was the pack with the Ponyback Brigade and the Mardu Rough Rider. So maybe your Mardu players just had to pass on him. I would chalk that one up to the booster.
Tom picks up a copy of Trumpet Blast here a little bit later. There's a Canyon Lurkers. I believe there's also another Smoke Teller and a Rise of the Serpent here. So all cards that looks like he has some interest in taking. He looks like he's going to go with the removal spell yet again.
Yeah, Smoke Teller So granted, he doesn't want too much 6-drop in his deck. So makes you think you may want to take the Smoke Teller there. However, he's really not sure if he's black-white, black-green, or if he'll have to play 3. Right to the Serpent, even in the second copy, is going to make his deck. And right now, I think he just wants to make sure he has enough playables going into this pack.
Okay. Well, pack 1 is done. It's time for the review period. Let's see if we can get a good look at things here.
Right. Disowned Ancestor was the second pick. That's
okay.
a very aggressive one. But what I like and what Tom has done here is that he knows he wants to be black. You see Ancestor, Debilitating Injury, Sultai Scavenger, and 2 Rite of the Serpents. That's 5 great cards for a black-based deck. And then he has some options. In white, he has Bondkin and Mardu Horde Chief. In green, he has Heir of the Wilds and Smoke Teller. And in the event that the guy he was passing to also ended up in black, this is what Tom would not want to have happen.
Yeah.
Then next pack, he won't get many good monocolored black things. In that case, he may have to go 3 color, and that's why he has the Obzon banner as a hedge. But I do think what he's looking to do, pack 2 here, is decide his second color between white and green instead of playing both.
Okay.
You see, he's only taken 1 piece of fixing, and it's a banner. Thomas showed very low preference on his lands, though he may go higher with that. He did not see any of the Obzon wedge lands that pack.
You can also tell he has no interest in really taking these 3-color cards. In the situation we saw early in pack 1, he could have very easily just said, I'm going to take this Ponyback Regator, this Mardu Rough Rider, and we're going to work our way into this and try to figure out a way to make the mana work and, kind of have a high-power deck. But he looks like he wants to be low to the ground, have some pretty clean mana. Looks like he's trying to draft a 2-color deck here. 3 colors if he has to.
One thing going into this, when I was talking to a lot of players, Mardu seems to be the hive mind consensus of, hey, this is the tribe you want to, or the wedge you want to be in. You see Tom opening a very good rare here, and this can happen a lot in the draft. He opened a Savage Knuckleblade, which is a great first pick, but one that he really can't do. It's red and blue, the 2 colors he's not.
Yeah. Just the wrong side of it there. You saw him pull forward to Smite the Monstrous. He also has a bit of Revelation up front, Sagu Archers, Obzon Guide. There's also Unyielding Kumar. It looks like he's going to go with the Smite the Monstrous. So what direction is he going? Is he looking to be very aggressive, maybe a little more mid-rangey?
It's interesting whether or not the 2 picks there were Obzon Guide and Smite the Monstrous, depending on whether or not he wanted to embrace his 3-color strategy or still attempt to stay in 2. He took Smite. Smite is good. I think it's a first pick he's a little disappointed in. He would have much preferred to have something like an Einok Bondkin or even one of the black-white chiefs, but he'll go with this card. He's passing the Obzon Guide, and this also shows why the 5-color draft archetype is very popular. Is you do get cards like 2nd and 3rd pick Savage Knuckleblades in this format, which is pretty good if you have all the mana to cast it.
It's simple, right? Tom has no chance of playing that card, so he just has to begrudgingly pass it. See a Become Immense at the front, the Delve +6 pump spell. There's a Bring Low here, but it doesn't look like Tom is really in red, but he will kind of analyze it back. There's also a copy of Savage Punch, solid removal spell there. It does not get passed very often, and Tom does not look like he has any interest in passing it at this point. Is considering it pretty heavily.
Yeah, the decision here is whether or not he wants to be green or white. There isn't good white here. He still would have preferred to take a black card, and instead he's going to take the Savage Punch. Now, I do want to point something out to the more keener eye there. You notice that there's 2 Teamer banners in that pack, and you'd say, hey, that actually can't happen in a booster pack, or rather, it happens very rarely. One thing they do at Grand Prix here is they defoil packs. They do crack the boosters, but if there's a foil card present in it, they will replace it with a non-foil version. So presumably, that pack was originally a Teamer banner and foil Teamer banner.
Let's take a look at what Tom sees now. There's a High Spring Mantis. Aha!
Chief of the Edge. This was the card he was looking for all along while he was drafting.
This is certainly what he wanted. He brought it forward very quickly. And really, again, none of Tom's picks have been very quick. You also see a Ruthless Ripper there.
Right.
But I imagine Chief of the Edge is probably going to go in the stack here. This is what it looks like he was trying to accomplish all along, as he does take the Human Warrior.
Well, there was an interesting choice here. So he could have taken the Ruthless Ripper, saying, hey, I'm just not sure that white is my second color. I do know Ruthless Ripper will be great in any of my decks, but Chief of the Edge has a high enough upside that he's going to go ahead and take it. It is a white card, so he's still being pulled in equal directions right now in white and green. He has a little better white in his pool, but the packs have looked like green is more open. There was that Savage Punch there.
See what Tom finds this go around. There's a copy of Raider Spoils, quite good in the Warrior deck.
Yeah, he doesn't have too much token making yet, but Raider Spoils, if he can get a couple more Mardu Horde Chiefs, can make a really potent Warriors deck.
Just giving this one a long look over. Looks like he's going to go with the spoils. Yes, he will.
Yeah, I don't think there was another pick there that was particularly enticing to him. He could have taken a throttle, but he already has enough to right of the Serpents in the way of expensive removal spells.
Looks like he's trying very hard to be base black. Looks like his splash right now is going to be white. There's still the potential for his splash to be green, but we will see. All right, let's see what this will be for the boss. Give a little look over here. Brings forward very quickly. Looks like a morph. It is the Woolly Loxodon.
Yeah, this is a pack that is really does not have many picks for him. He could take a Siegecraft. Otherwise, he's taking a morph Woolly Loxodon. He has a chance of flipping up.
He goes in the back end, pulls something forward. It's a copy of Ride Down. There's the Loxodon again. He's got to select a card now. Looks like he's just going to go with the morph. There's the chance, of course, for him to have a green mana in his deck to be able to unmorph that thing. Hard casting, I think, is going to be a little bit more unreasonable. But having something to do on turn 3, no matter what, is solid.
And we saw that yesterday. We saw some black-white decks splashing a couple morphs. This is actually high on the list of morphs that you'd want to splash. If you do hit the green for it, it's a very high-impact morph. I think Woolly Loxodon, alongside of Obzon Guide and maybe Pine Walker, are the best green splashed morphs.
We can't forget, too, that Woolly Loxodon, it's a 6/7, but it is a warrior. So, because why, because why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, War Behemoth versus a second Obzon banner will be the pick for him this time.
It's giving a little bit of a look to that molting snakeskin, but I think he's going to go with the Behemoth. Again, this is just a situation where you just kind of fill in the holes. I think that's the big trick here.
Well, the good thing about playing a two-color aggro deck is you're trying to take advantage of the tempo of the format. So even if you don't get the choice creatures, what matters is that the shape of your curve becomes a lot more important than the quality of your cards.
Hooting Mandrill's brought forward here.
Yeah.
So there's a Rush of Battle finally. I wonder if he goes with that. There's also Rise of the Serpent, and then there's that Blossoming Sands to help to fix the mana. And he's going to go help fix the mana. I'll take the Blossoming Sands.
Yeah, I think he already has a lot of cards that work well with tokens. You saw him get both the Chief of the Edge and the Rush of Battle that pack. So before he takes something else that's good with tokens, he wants to consider the possibility that he may have to splash green here. He does have Savage Punch, Woolly Loxodon, and Heir of the Wilds, all green cards.
Salt Road Patrol, also a Rotting Mastodon. Nothing too exciting here. Patrol might just be a curve filler, really.
And I was going to say exactly that. These are high toughness creatures. They're not what he's in the market for. But Salt Road Patrol can go aggro if it needs to. That Outlast ability on it can help him out, and it's a very playable 4-drop.
See what he sees when he looks at 6 cards here. Secret Plans among the cards that have wheeled this go-around. Looks like Bitter Revelation is what he will select relatively quickly.
Yeah, it's the only card he can play there. Heart Piercer Bow is colorless, but it's more of a sideboard card if it's playable at all.
You know, what I find interesting about this draft format is Tom's deck is definitely sacrificing power to be lowered to the ground. He's trying to kill people very quickly. You know, he's passed cards like Savage Knuckleblade and Obzon Guide. And, you know, his power level of his deck is not very high, but he just wants to try to kill people very, very quickly as you see him take a Sidisi's Pet. So this is another morph for him to just kind of fill in the holes of his deck. He just wants to give the beatdowns and hopefully the opponent doesn't do something too powerful or Tom can kill them before they do that.
I think right now Tom has got to be only so happy with his deck. He does have enough playables in his 2 colors where it looks like he can build a 2-color deck, and this is a great find for him with Mardu Hateblade.
Yeah, it's a late one, but it does help things out. It gets him up to a nice start. It's a difficult creature to block. You know, it's always going to win in combat because you can give a Death Touch, and it is a warrior.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what he has missing right now in his deck, and we'll see this in deck review, is that his curve is weak at numbers 1 and at number 2 really is this weak spot. And one of the things these aggro decks need to do is capitalize on the fact that other players are playing slower tap land morph style decks. So he's going to need a couple more Einok Bondkins, Chief of the Edge style cards.
CGI Harrier is what Tom picked up that pack. You see a bit of Revelation in a Siegecraft. Siegecraft's going to go away. I'm going to be really interested to see how people look at Siegecraft over the course of this format. Again, we talked yesterday about the fact that a very similar card in Onslaught block, the name of it is escaping me at this point, unfortunately, but a very similar effect in that format. That was very, very good in that format, not seeing play in this particular one. So.
Right, and I mean, he's valuing his second Bitter Revelation higher than he's valuing that card. Means that I don't think Tom considers it to be particularly playable. You see here, he's going to shuffle the cards he knows he wants to play at the front, And what it looks like he needs is more low end. He has a Disowned Ancestor, a Chief of the Edge, an Einak Bonkin, and a Mardu Hateblade at 1 and 2. It's a good start. And right now his curve is looking good. He has a couple high-end removal spells up at the top and Rite of the Serpent. Maybe even a couple Bitter Revelation, a Bitter Revelation in the deck wouldn't be the worst. What he's probably looking for here is a little more explosion in his cards. Things like another Mardu Horde Chief would be pretty good. Ways that he can really get ahead on the board in the early game.
Yeah, we'll see what he looks to find in pack number 3 here. Again, he's definitely sacrificed some power level to build this low-to-the-ground deck. He was very, very fortunate to get that Chief of the Edge. Of course, he would love another one of those, I imagine.
Chief of the Edge or Chief of the Scale, they're both pretty good in his deck. Tom has to hope he's the only person at the table taking those cards. They're only selectively high impact. At the same time, Tom would just, for those cards to get better, like I said, he wants more cheap creatures, more ways to make multiple creatures. We'll see if he can find them here in pack 3.
He'll lay out his cards, make sure the appropriate amount are there, and then he's got to get excited. I don't know if there's a certain rare that he's looking to bust at this particular point. Might just be those uncommons, the Chiefs.
With this style of drafting, a lot of the good rares in the set are 3 colors.
Please confirm that all 14 cards are standard.
I think his deck is okay at this point. It has the potential to get much better. We'll see if he can find what he's looking for.
The card quality is average. The strategy's good here. And listen, one of the dangers with these 2-color decks is you can get packs that don't help you too much.
And Thomas giving a long look to Hooded Hydra now, and for me, that would be a tough one to pass. Even though it's not great, it's a very, very good card. It's difficult for him to, I think, play appropriately, but he's given a long look to that powerful Mythic.
So here are the choices. He can take a card like Throttle and just take it as his 3rd kill spell. And that's a pretty weak first pick. He could take this Hooded Hydra, and on the off chance he finds, right now he has an Abzan Banner and a Blossoming Sands. If he finds a couple more green sources, he could actually play this. And if you haven't played with Hooded Hydra, it's an excellent card.
It's really, really good. Saw Ari Lax have that in his steel deck yesterday. He started day 1 with an 8-1 record, so.
And Tom may have to show a little bit of commitment to taking some lands here if he wants to play that Hydra.
At the very least, it's a 3-mana 2/2.
Right, that's why you get to play it.
Yeah, so there is that. And if he can work his way towards being able to cast that thing or unmorph that thing, life is pretty good.
In order to play it, he would need to play probably 5 green sources in his deck at the very least.
Found a copy of the Horde Chief.
It's exactly the card he's looking for.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there's an Abzan guide here, I have to think he's going to end up on the War Chief.
Easier to cast. Lets him be aggressive, which it's very clear he wants to do.
Interesting that he's still looking at that Sultai Charm at the front. I don't think he'll take it, but that it's even right now in the consideration here shows that he has puts a lot of priority on that card.
Yeah, something I like to do when I draft is, I like to just bring forward the most powerful cards in the pack. Even though I'm not going to take them, I just want to be cognizant that they're there and that I'm passing them. So then I do remember that that's something that did happen during the draft, and that, the opponents down the road from me could have that card.
Mardu Horde Chief was the pick. Goes really well with that Chief of the Edge and Raider spoils that he took. It's part of his plan A. He may just have to ignore that Hooded Hydra pick if the fixing doesn't come.
Yeah, it's definitely, he's speculating on if he can get that, and we'll see if he can, kind of put it together. You see a Sandstep Citadel, that will help cast that, and now here's some good cards.
This is an interesting choice. So Sandstep Citadel is great for that Hooded Hydra plan. However, both Feat of Resistance and Timely Hordemate are very good in the archetype he was previously putting together.
Those feel like premium cards. He's actually going to go with the land. Wow, that's some discipline there to help him cast his spells. It would take that would take a lot for me to pass Feat of Resistance. That card is so good.
It's not as good as Hooded Hydra, and I think that's what Tom's banking on.
All right. No argument there. That's for sure.
Those tri-lands, still, even in these aggro decks, a turn 1 Sandstep Citadel is probably the best turn 1 play in his deck.
Yeah. I've seen so many great turns of Feat of Resistance, but he will let it go. Maybe it wheels. We don't know. I'd be surprised if it did. See a kill shot. There's a Sultai Scavenger here as well. Scavenger looks like it's probably the best card for his deck. He's not taking too long electing to pick this. And one thing that we know about this format, definitely from watching yesterday, being in the skies is a great place to be. So flying creatures are at a premium in this format.
Yeah, the other best cards in black-white there would be Kill Shot and Rite of the Serpent. He already has 2 rights, so probably doesn't even want to play a third, even if he had one in his pool. And he's To no one's surprise, Kill Shot is not a Tom Ross style card. He's the one attacking, not the one blocking.
We can't forget too, Sultai Scavenger is a warrior. So that little sub-theme there, you start to look at all of those creature types when you are drafting this kind of deck.
That one was one that surprised me that it was a warrior. I did not expect the bird to also be a warrior.
The Mardu Skull Hunter, that'll help him fill out his curve a little bit here.
Great pick for his deck. He was a little short at 1 and 2. It's a warrior. It's in his main color. It's very castable. I can't imagine he'll take anything else.
Well, you almost juked us there.
I mean, Firehoof Cavalry, if you're playing red, is I suppose playable, but...
That was the camera juke, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, I might do this. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'm taking the Skull Hunter.
His curve's filling out nicely here. I'm still surprised by that Sandstep Citadel pick. Just because I guess I almost expected him to just leave that Hydra behind. It is very good, though.
It's a tough card to leave behind. You see he's going to bring Kill Shot to the front here, so maybe he does want to go this route. There's also Assault Road Patrol back there. ZDC's pet, so it looks like he does want to have one reactive removal spell. He did pass one, so he has to be cognizant of that in the portion. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that's a card that he just has in his sideboard to start things and boards in.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Second Salt Road Patrol and second Sidisi's Pet are both cards that Tom's not very interested in. Kill Shot, something he might actually play out of the board.
Let's see what Tom finds this pick. Bear's Companion, that's a late one of those, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's something that can happen in 3-color formats. If no one's drafting Teamer, that you're going to get stuff like this happening.
Teamer really does seem to be open in this draft. You even see cards like Master the Way. This isn't the first time we've seen a late Master the Way. That's a very powerful card. And granted, you have to be Teamer or Jeskai to be able to play it. And I would say that's the underdrafted wedge at this table. I would say Teamer is. And whoever is the 5-color player presumably will end up cashing in on that fact.
Alter the Brood was the card that Tom did select with that last pick. See Venerable Lamasu among the cards that he can select at this go around. There's also a Firehoof Cavalry.
And we just see that blue is underdrafted right now. Both Force Away and Dragon's Eye Savants still in the pack. And they're both quite powerful cards.
He will take the Lamasu. I saw Bring Low very late too.
Yeah, that is a late Bring Low. Said Teamer, in particularly, maybe not the green part, but a base blue-red Teamer deck, I don't think is very underdrafted here.
See what the boss picks up here. You see Assault Road Patrol right away. There's another copy of Bitter Revelation. He's already got one of those hanging out in his pile.
Yeah, I believe he has 2. I don't think that's a card you can ever really run 3 of. So I imagine we'll see him take the Patrol, but I don't know if any of these are making the deck.
Yeah, he's not too thrilled to take that Assault Road Patrol, but he will.
This pack ran dry on him a little early, which means I think he's going to have to splash the green. He's either going to have to splash the green or play second copies of a lot of underwhelming cards.
See another Rotting Mastodon here. Glacial Stalker. He can play this as an off-color removal. Treasure Cruise going relatively late in the draft. But again, this is booster draft. This is not sealed. This is a little bit different. Treasure Cruise is a very, very good sealed card. It can be a very good card in booster draft if your Sultai deck does cooperate, but it's not a windmill slam like it is in sealed deck, it seems.
And I'm still thinking that the blue deck is just underdrafted here. And it's one of those things, we realized it pretty late. Tom never really had a chance to go in on it, even if he wanted to. You see another Dragon's Eye Savants. That's actually a card that's quite good in blue right now.
Shasha's Secret does go into Tom's pile. Just a couple cards left to go here for the boss. Do wonder how he feels about his deck at this point. Doesn't seem great. It just seems okay. Pack 3 definitely did not work out, I think, the way that he wanted it to. He kind of got, I don't want to say trapped by the Hooded Hydra, but boy, is that a tough card to pass when you've got a couple of green cards that are of interest and you're thinking, well, maybe I can just work my way towards a couple of green mana. And this card is definitely worth it. It's a really, really powerful card. And you saw him take the Sandstep Citadel as a result.
This is actually the first big time he's had to make a choice for in a while. And it's not that just going straight black-white would have been much better. Blue and red were just the underdrafted things in Pack 3, so while Tom got picks, his picks ran out around Pack 6. I do believe he'll end up making it to 23 playables without playing anything too terrible in the deck. And we'll see this, I think, in deck building, what he ended up playing. Like I said, he's going to be a base black-white. I believe because he got a lot of unplayable late cards. He's going to have to splash green. But he did, you see with that Sandstep Citadel pick a land to try to make that an easier splash in the back.
Okay. We'll see what he can put together. The draft is over for him. Of course, he's going to go to his building area, lay everything out, register all the cards, and get ready to do battle. Again, Tom is 8-0-1 here thus far. With the beginning of a format, these beginning drafts, I imagine, of course, these drafts that we're going to see here this week are going to be a lot different than the drafts we see a month from now. You know, right now on the floor, you talk to the players, and say, man, if I can get the Warrior deck, it is really, really good if it comes together. You wonder how many players at that table with Tom were thinking the exact same thing.